Hey there, I'm Jennifer Valor, productivity coach and your host of the Childfree Biz Cafe, the podcast where child-free entrepreneurs define success on their terms. This is the Childfree Biz Cafe where fulfillment and happiness meets entrepreneurship.
Well, so no.
All right. Today I'm talking with Lindsay Johnson, also known as the Radical Connector, is a business game changer, teaching entrepreneurs how to ditch busy work and learn consent-based sales skills. Hi Lindsay, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk today.
Yeah, so tell us about yourself.
Oh, that's a big question. I'm a Canadian. I live up in Vancouver, British Columbia. I am an entrepreneur and a business owner. As you said, I teach consent-based sales. I am queer, non-binary. I identify as being a person in a bigger body. I'm also neurodivergent, which makes business and life interesting. And I'm also super into like fitness and sports and outdoorsy things. I'm currently rehabbing a couple of injured knees, actually, hoping that I'm going to get myself back to hiking shape here in no time.
Yeah, between being child free amongst all the other things. I love it.
Yes, and also child free.
I love Vancouver. It's one of my favorite places. I've been to Europe, and Vancouver's still one of my favorite places.
That's so nice. I remember I used to live in a house with 9 other women. There was 10 of us. That time I was just going through a divorce. It was like my like Renaissance era. And it was in this big house with all these women, and it was so wonderful. And I remember there was a lot of like travelers and like people here on visas. And there was one woman from Germany, and she said Vancouver was her top 3 destinations in the world. And I'm like, Vancouver, why? And we happened to be sitting at the beach. She's like, look, this is the only place where you can see mountains and forest and ocean and city skyline all in one view. And it really made me look at the city, which I already loved and found beautiful, totally differently.
When I was younger, my dad took us on a train trip through the Rocky Mountains, where the mountains.
Yeah.
Oh,
Stunning, absolutely stunning. Whenever I fly across the country, because I do a lot of travel back and forth between Toronto, I always try to make sure I'm coming in during the day, because when you come in, you get to see the Rockies, and it's just a literal sea of mountaintops for literally as far as you can see. It is really spectacular.
So share with us your child-free journey.
Well, my child-free journey isn't really a journey. This isn't something that is something that I'm super rigid or resistant or firm around. I knew from a very young age that I didn't want to have my own children. I didn't want to be pregnant. I didn't want to give birth. I didn't want to have babies. I just knew from a very young age. Everybody else, right? Everyone tells me my mind will change. I think I went through a phase in I'll probably say my mid 30s, where I was like, okay, maybe I do want to have kids. Maybe I do want to have a family. Maybe I'll adopt or whatnot at a certain age if I'm not in a relationship. I've gone through that. And I think as that a part of that is hormonal. I think a part of that is also seeing our parents age and being like, I'm kind of by myself here. There isn't that awareness of, yeah, having a family is kind of a really cool thing to have. I also am not close with my family. So it is really just sort of me and then my friends, my chosen family. So there definitely have been points of pressure, but at the end of the day, I think between my lifestyle, the way that my brain works, my little quirks about me, I just knew that KBs were something that I think I would be able to handle and really wanted. I really spent a lot of my life living it for other people. And I'm at this selfish stage, and rightly so, where life is about me. But what's funny is that, to be said, if I were to meet somebody and they had children and we were to partner, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm not opposed to having children in my life. I just knew for me, I didn't want to physically make and birth and raise babies and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yes. More about the chosen family, how important that is, because family dynamics are so complex.
Mm,
But like just yourself and a pet, or just you and really close friends, that is family. It's
hmm.
not necessarily two parents, so many kids, and a picket fence kind of thing. Family is different for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I have a lot of conversations with friends, whether it's my business friends, my non business friends. And no matter if they have children or they don't, there seems to be a common theme of loneliness. We are definitely in an era where we have all become so isolated and aren't as involved in communal things together. We've lost the village humanity needs. We've lost that. It has become a lot about just working and then watching TV, right? And the pandemic really exacerbated that. I saw somewhere that I think it's 60% of Americans have not resumed their pre-pandemic level of socializing.
Mhm.
And the article talked about how we've become resigned to loneliness and that we need to be aware of that, and we need to push back against that. We need to develop that endurance again for going out, for seeing friends, for being with people. And that can be hard. And this is why I talk a lot about like work less, play more. It's a big part of what I do, because I think we are all so stretched so thin and we are so burnt out, and we have been fed this lie about hyper independence and self-made and do everything on our own. And because we've lost our villages, not only are we tired from working all the time, but cleaning the house all the time or running errands all the time. I'm a big believer in normalizing running errands together, normalizing, right? Being in the messy day to day, not just let me clean my house and then you can come over for this time to this time and we can hang out and while I clean up. Let's run and
Yeah.
get some groceries together. We don't have to be as lonely as we are, and we need to check in on where we can be inserting more people. I'm also a big believer in living with people, right? I think living alone is very hard. So if we're able to, if you don't have your own family, it's great to see your friends, but then when you leave, you're still always going to be home alone. And so I think living with people is a really important, is again, it's about building that village and having people in your life. It's so important.
Oh, absolutely. I'm lucky enough to be living with my partner, and I know not everyone's able to do that. Me and my best friend, we don't live together, but we try to hang out as much as possible, even though she's got a younger kid and one on the way.
Mhm.
And so she's busy, but she's one of the few friends that's like my family
Yeah,
kind
because that's another thing, right? Is normalizing being the cool aunt or
of. Hmm.
uncle or the non-binary version of that. I think there's a lot of these things I hear from my friends that do have kids is how uninvolved their parents are. And it's very different than when they were young, when they had their grandparents involved, right? And aunts and uncles. And now so many of them don't have that. And we need to normalize going and taking the kids out for ice cream or taking them to the park or just hanging out, like I think parents themselves also feel incredibly isolated and alone once they have kids. And I know this is about being childless, but funny enough, we're talking about people that have kids, right? Because I think there's this weird thing in communities where people are childless by choice or by situation, where there's a lot of resistance to children and a lot of resentment or anger or straight up hatred directed towards children, which is kind of messed up. I think that requires some introspection on that. And I mean, I get it being neurodivergent. I get that, like, this is why I don't want to have kids, especially young kids, is that being neurodivergent, it is a lot on my brain. Kids are loud, kids are messy, kids are having temper tantrums a lot, as they should. You did, I did. That's a normal part of development, and them learning, experiencing all these things for the first time and having big feelings and learning how to emotionally regulate. That's normal. But we really got to question why people really hate children so much. Like that, we need to maybe do a little therapy, a little journaling, a little reflecting on that. Because we've all been there. Kids are our future. That they are important. And so it's weird that sometimes in the childless spaces, it's an us versus them thing. They'll call parents breeders and things like that. That's a really weird how you exist in society and your function within society.
Yeah, that another big part of that is just societal pressure in general. Those type of child free I've heard are more like aggressively child free.
Hmm.
So that's what I understand. There's circles for that. That's not where I want to be personally. But I am very limited to how much time and energy and emotionally I can be around kids. Now
Yeah.
that has improved since my best friend has had her kid. And now that I've had a niece, I've learned to tolerate better. But just working retail and with the public for so long, I'm just over it. but there is that extreme, and it's just so toxic. And so why did you start your business?
It's not even a matter of why, it was a matter of when. My whole family is like entrepreneurial. I've grown up with entrepreneurs, and being an entrepreneur, that was my future. But for me, it was a matter of what I wanted to do. And it's funny because essentially I teach entrepreneurship. And as an entrepreneur, it's very inception, like a dream within a dream, an entrepreneur within the entrepreneurial world. But I am such a nerd for entrepreneurship and the way businesses are built, and specifically the strategic way, how we look at what we do strategically and how we think strategically so that we are not hemorrhaging time and money and energy on things that don't work, on things that don't matter, and how we get really clear on the things that we need to get done to build a business so that we can go have a life. I originally started my company as a networking company, and I wanted to show entrepreneurs how to use networking to grow faster and easier, right? When you have a community with you doing it, like helping you and supporting you. But entrepreneurs didn't really care about that. They kept coming to me for was sales support. How do I get sales? And I was like, well, sales, I can do sales in my sleep. Sales is awesome. And I had developed my own consent-based sales process 20 years earlier because I have been in the world of entrepreneurship and marketing and sales for so long. I really got a lot of my experience, not just for my own things, but like supporting other businesses in understanding how to connect with their community, how to connect with their customer, how to create that sales flow. And so I really figured it out. And when it came time to do my business, I was like, oh, yeah, this is no problem. I can show you this. And so again, it was one of those things of this is something that came very naturally to me. It's something, well, also I developed it as a
Right.
skill. I developed a system, but it became easy for me and it was something I really loved. And I was like, can my business be that simple? Yeah. Can I just show you how to go get more customers? Then let's do this. And I rebranded and I became the Radical Connector. And the rest is history and still developing into whatever
Right.
is next.
Exactly. So would you say that all marketing strategies work? It's just a matter of finding what works for you.
No, a lot of really bad marketing strategies and business advice out there.
Okay, what's your take on it then?
So no, not everything works, but yes, I'm trying to think of some examples. I've seen some really weird ideas out there over 20, 30 years, but
I can't do the bro marketing.
I mean, that works for some people, right? But like, I just saw an ad for somebody and they promoted how to get sales without doing sales calls. I was like, oh, interesting. I want to see what you have to say about that. And then their whole process is get them to fill out a form and then you review it and then you send them a video back and then you tell them how to buy. And first of all, there's things within that I don't necessarily think is a good call, at least if you're not in your first sort of three years of business, because I do think if you work one-on-one with people, you need to have a one-on-one call, not for their sake, but for yours. That's how you catch the people that you're like, I don't want to touch this person with a 10-foot pole, right? So I don't know that's as a good strategy. Also, it will take you way longer per person to read through, figure what you want to say, record it and send it than just hopping on a call. Also, that doesn't cause the problem, which is what every single business program out there, I swear to God, does. It doesn't tell you how to get that form in front of the right people, right? A lot of people will be like, just do this, just make a course, just do this new form and this whole thing. But they're not telling you, where do you go and what do you say to get that into the right hands? It's an interesting idea. I've actually done it myself. I don't find that it converts as highly as doing a sales call, though. I don't think it really converts the same way. It depends on your market, on the way that you sell and the work that you do. It's an interesting concept. I'm not opposed to it. My point being that not everything is going to work, and some things work for some people, some things work for other, and some things just don't work. It is just not the way that people make purchases. I think that's something that we forget all the time in marketing and sales. It's not about your sales goals and your scripts and your this and your that. It is, how do people buy? And specifically, how do your customers make a purchase? What is their buying journey look like? You have to make sure you're meeting them at these points. You have to serve them, not ask them to jump through hoops for you.
Okay, so what would be your process then?
For getting customers? It depends what kind of customers I'm getting because I have a few different types, but I do a lot of networking. First 5 years of my business was just networking. And because of that, I get a lot of referrals and I get a lot of opportunities to get on stages or things like that to get in front of the right people. And then obviously I meet my actual clients in real life or online. And then I use networking to bring people into my world, to build that know, like, trust, to let them get to know me, get to know what I do. And then if there's a point of interest, whether it's to work with me or to be professional connection, we have a conversation and we just see where that goes. I talk a lot about networking because it is the number one marketing activity anybody can do. But I think people get really hung up on it being this sort of like smarmy, gross activity. And you understand networking is just about turning strangers into friends
Yeah.
and then nurturing those relationships over time. What ends up happening is you're building your reputation, you're building people out there talking about you, and you're talking about those people, right? To the world out there that needs them. I just had this big event on Friday, and the amount of networking I was doing on behalf of other people who weren't in the room, because that's what happens when you build these solid relationships. So that's
Right.
one strategy. I also do a lot of public speaking, and that pulls people into my world. They come on, follow me on Instagram or TikTok, or come get my free downloadable, right? And that in turn lets my funnel, my email marketing do the job. I host online workshops and things like that. I host online co-working. So I do a bunch of different things. I don't do a ton of content marketing, but I do some, and I'm moving into more of that this year. I do a bunch of different things that around networking, public speaking, community building, and content marketing. Those are the 4 pillars I teach. I pull people in, and then I have a different sales flow for each thing. What's important is that I and listeners, that you're getting in front of the right people and you're
Mhm.
having the right conversations. And then you have a very clear sales process attached to that. So there's a step-by-step process that you take people through, that you develop over time, and that you works.
Yeah, I've tried to do more local networking anyway. And luckily, I found a couple of child-free business friends locally now. So that's been pretty cool. But in general, just showing up at the same events all the time, you start getting familiar faces. And then you just ask the person you came with or already know, like, introduce me to someone. Ask them, who should I know or who should I talk to first, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then just build a relationship from there and see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have, if you go to my YouTube, you can just find me at the Radical Connector or Radical Linz. Either one will get you there. I've got videos on networking, right? And tips and tricks for, I believe I have online and in real life stuff. Of course, as of the time of recording this podcast here, I haven't made an official YouTube video in like 3 years because I started my YouTube channel at the beginning of the pandemic. And then I got really busy. And I'm just like basically clearing space right now in my own work schedule so that I can get back into doing YouTube because it's so fun. So hopefully by the time this airs, there's a whole bunch more videos for you to check out. But yeah, I talk about networking a lot.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to link your YouTube channel down below also.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's why I decided to be on YouTube. I can reach a much bigger audience, and it's very obvious what my channel does and everything. And I'm exhausted by social media, even though I understand it's still important and where I've met most of the people online. So I had to change my entire marketing strategy for this year because it was just too exhausting and wanting to make sure
Yeah.
I do a better job of getting in front of the right people. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely the networking and being in front of the right people, and yeah, it takes time, but it's completely worth it. It's definitely a long-term thing.
And that's how we have to look at businesses and entrepreneurship. It's not something that's built in a matter of weeks. It is something that's built over years. And
Mhm,
if you are doing it right, and that doesn't mean not making mistakes or not failing. That means if you are learning from your mistakes
mhm,
and if you are adapting and you are starting, because when you first start your business, you're going to get more things wrong than you are right, because you're kind of guessing in the first year for
yeah,
sure. But as long as you're paying attention, because the things that will really crush a new entrepreneur is not paying attention when something's not working and figuring it out, or seeking help from people who can help them figure it
mhm,
out. Right. And then continuing to do the wrong thing, the wrong thing, the wrong thing. And then next thing you know, you're burnt out, exhausted, and all your money's been used up and you're out of time. Right. And so it really is going, okay, who are my people that I want to be meeting? Where can I connect with them? What am I saying once I get there? How am I bringing them into my world? And really having a strategy and then tweaking as you go over that first year, 2 years, 3 years. And by 3 years, you really should be like getting to that 6-figure mark if you haven't yet. You should be really having your marketing and sales stuff like figured out so that we can then start having conversations about getting into that pre-scale stage, right? So if you're hitting year 3 or year 5 and you're still struggling to even get 20 grand a year coming in, okay, like we gotta talk. It's probably time to hire somebody who is a business development strategist, maybe a business coach if you want, but like somebody who isn't going to talk to you about your own insecurities or your money blocks. Like somebody who's going to be like, hey, show me what you're actually doing. What are you saying? What is your sales process? What have you monetized? What are your offerings and your packages looking like? How much are you charging? What is your marketing messaging? What is your website? It's not about, and I think a lot of people get sold on this idea of, oh, I just have to want it more. I have to remove my money blocks. I have to believe in myself more. I have to get rid of my imposter syndrome. And listen, those are all true, but if you're doing the wrong things, the wrong activities, you've got the wrong packages, your messaging is wrong, you're charging the wrong price. If those things are wrong, it doesn't matter how much personal development you do, you need to have someone who can help you figure out what the heck is broken internally in the way your business functions.
Yeah. As being child free improved your freedom, resources, and business as a whole?
I mean,
Yeah.
like
Always.
in all the ways, right? And I don't say this to in any way gloat. I just have a very different lifestyle. Being an entrepreneur without children allows me to move quicker because I have more time. Right.
Mhm.
I have more time. I have more energy. I have more money. Right. I can hop on a plane if I want to. I'm trying to get out to this event in Toronto, but I can't do it. I'm trying so hard to see if I can rejig my schedule to get out there, but I can't. That's because of my schedule, not because of kids. But that's an example of if I want to go, I can just hop on a flight and
Yeah.
go, right? I can sleep in if I need to. If I'm sick, I can reschedule and then take a sick day. It's just me. If I don't have groceries in the house, it's not the end of the world. I can get Uber Eats. Not having children, it is definitely a benefit in terms of time, space, money, energy as a business owner and as the lifestyle. But again, that's not to put down people that have children. That's just a different lifestyle
Yeah.
and a different future you're building for yourself, right? There's not one, it's not better than the other. It's just that's the reality. When you don't have kids, you can go a bit faster.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this channel, is to show that we live a very different lifestyle, and
Mm-hmm.
each of us being child free, we have our own types of lifestyles that we want to create,
Yeah.
and all the choices that everyone makes is okay.
Yeah.
So, what are some ideas for enjoying some of that free time? We've already mentioned some traveling. I'm
Yeah.
more of a homebody. I'm more of a stay close to home, weekend trip,
Yeah.
overnight trip, maybe.
I do all sorts of things. It depends on what I'm in the mood for. Like, I just signed up for a self-portrait photography class that I use our iPhones for. It starts today. I'm very excited. I'm learning ukulele. I'm
Oh,
planning a few fun long weekend hiking trips down in the US. There's just all these. If I want to travel, if I want to just rot in my bed and watch Netflix one day, all day, and that's what I do. It depends on what I want. Do I want to read? Do I want to hang out with friends? There's so much. And because to my point earlier about the resigned loneliness and how I'm, for myself personally, I'm really counteracting that. I go out with my friends as much as possible, whether we're going to drag bingo or karaoke or just going for a walk, or just had brunch, a 3-hour brunch with one of my other child free by choice friends and business friends as well. Whatever the hell you want. I
yeah.
do whatever the hell I want. And then of course, one of the benefits of being both an entrepreneur with a thriving business, a profitable business, and child free, double whammy of my life is my own. Right.
Hmm.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
a big advocate for starting your own business, especially if you have a skill set that people will pay you for,
Yes.
right? Start your own business. There are negatives, downsides, like maybe you don't have extended health. You got to buy your own because you don't get healthcare through your company, or there's little things here and there, right? That maybe entrepreneurship isn't right for everybody depending on your needs. But when you're able to day, I'm trying to think of what it was. I think I was feeling really burnt out and exhausted and anxious. And I'm able to say, like, my assistant, can you please just clear my day and just reschedule everybody? I need to just sit in the sun and read. Like, that's what I did. I'm having too much anxiety today. I've overloaded myself here somehow. Again, being neurodivergent, that happens, right? So you can't do that at a job.
Right.
I mean, I think you get like 1 or 2 mental health days a year, right? And to jump through hoops to get it. Sometimes you have to have doctor's notes to be able to just like set your own schedule, work with who you want to work with, take time off when you want to take time off. For myself, I take a week every month where I just do behind the scenes work or no work sometimes. Sometimes I'm working on my own stuff. Sometimes I'm just sleeping and chilling and hanging out with friends. Every month I do that. And so there is that double whammy of freedom when you have no kids and your own business.
Yeah, which is a great easy lead in too. So I love that we're both all about anti-hustle, working
Mhm.
less, playing more.
Yes.
Because for me personally, I also believe that life is short and you might as well do things your way because everyone has an opinion.
Yeah.
So it's like, do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt anyone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's one thing you want everyone to take away with today?
I would say one thing that I would want people to take away is really thinking about the kind of lifestyle you want to live. Like, truly, what is the kind of lifestyle you want to live? And understanding that that doesn't have to be something rigid. I travel this many times. I do this. Like, it can, like I said, my lifestyle is I want to be able to do whatever the hell I want, whatever the hell I want. That is what's important
Same.
to me.
Yeah.
So think about the lifestyle you want to live and then think about how you're using your business as a tool to get you there
Hmm.
and understanding that it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight, right? But I was going to say, on top of taking off a week every month, I also take off 2 months a year. I take off August and December. Like, I do not work, right? Again, that's something that I have built up to. These are things that you want really be thinking about. How am I structuring my day? How am I structuring my business? Through my offerings, through my scheduling, and then also just making sure that you're making money. If you're not making money and you don't know why, connect with me, come follow me on YouTube, connect with people who can help you figure that out. And I'm not talking money mindset, people. I'm talking what is structurally wrong in my business that I'm
Yeah.
not making money, what is structurally wrong in my offerings, my marketing, and my sales process. Figure that out and let's get you making money so you can do whatever the hell you want.
Absolutely. So how can we connect with you?
Definitely follow me on YouTube. And then, of course, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, but come and connect with me on YouTube. If you join my community, we do a lot of really cool things on YouTube. We do co-working sessions, we do business Q&A on YouTube. We do, like, say, office hours, business Q&A
Hmm.
on YouTube. Yes. Onto YouTube, get into my community and let's hang out.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, I'll put all that down below.
Love it.
So that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and send this to your child free friends. You can connect with me on social all across the things as Productively Child Free. Remember, you're not alone. And until next time, stay amazing and live life your way.